Hello and welcome to the 62nd installment of the Synapse Misfire Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, joined, as always, by our co-host, who's very sleepy, Jordan.
That's me. Apparently I'm sleepy, yeah. I had to yawn. I was like, oh, hold it.
Had a little yawn.
Hold it. Couldn't hold it.
Jordan, I have like a really important question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If I was a person who potentially wanted to listen to the audio form of this podcast, where can I go? What kind of platforms is this show available on?
It's a good question.
The audio version of this show.
Yeah, because of course we're on YouTube. It's been day one on YouTube. We started on YouTube. But if you want to listen to the audio version only, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Radio Public, and of course Spotify. We also have the RSS feed linked below. You can put that in whatever app you want. So yeah, RSS linked below. As always, contact us via email, synapsemisfire@pm.me. Comments, questions, concerns, and death threats. You can also reach out to us on Instagram. As I've said for numerous episodes now, I will make that a thing soon. Just give me time. Just give me some time. I need some goddamn time. Have some faith.
I have a plan.
Have some goddamn faith.
Well, here comes my favorite young man, Mr. Chung.
Who you just locked out of upstairs, didn't you?
Not completely. You can get up there.
Oh, you left the door cracked?
Yeah, I always do. His food's up there. It's the only thing he likes. He didn't even like me.
Makes sense. But aside from that, Chris, formalities out of the way, what have you been up to?
I'm just petting my son here, my cat.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't do anything interesting anymore.
No, you're an old man now, right?
I'm an old man.
Now, you did tell me when I first arrived at your humble abode that you're getting rid of the Suburban.
I'm going to, yeah. Like, very soon. It's not that I don't like it. It's not that I don't like... Okay, hang on. It's not that I don't like it. It's not that there's anything, like, wildly wrong with it. It's just that I don't use it.
Yeah.
So I got the Fiesta, and I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal for snow. I can always use my dad's truck if I have to. And I'm probably going to get winter tires or some nice all seasons for my car.
Yeah.
And then call it a day with that.
There you go. Sounds like a plan. So if you want to buy a Suburban, Chris has one for sale.
And then I'm thinking maybe next summer I'm going to get I think the code was S197, might have been 196 era of Mustang, which is like 05 to 2012 or something. I don't know if those are exact years.
Yeah.
So if I'm wrong, correct me. The one after the kind of shitty looking one. The one with the round headlights in the front. That's the one. And I want to get that with the 4.6 V8, which is pretty good, but I have to find one for a price I like.
Yeah.
Which is going to be difficult, but it's something I can put some work into, which is kind of what I'm looking for, so.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of cool. Aside from that, you've been in school, as usual.
Yeah.
How many years do you have left of that shit? Is this your last year, or do you have another one?
No, next year's my last.
Ugh. But you can't wait to be done, and then, like you said, go into a field with nothing to do with your major.
You don't fucking, leave. Oh, Jesus. All right.
So does he.
All right, calm down. Relax.
Apparently he wants to leave. Yeah, school is kind of whack sometimes. I have to go back eventually.
I'm going to, after school, leave and move off the grid. I'm going to live off the fat of the land, baby.
Yeah. Live off the land like a cowboy.
I'm gonna have my own Beecher's Hope. Like John Marston.
Can you build it with the house building theme? Just like...
Yeah, except it's gonna be me and you and Alex. So it's gonna be you and Alex doing the work, and I'm gonna be uncle in that situation.
Basically, yeah, makes sense.
It's yeah, I'm gonna build my own Beecher's Hope. I'm gonna be like John Marston, except I'm not gonna get shot. Hopefully.
Depends on how Alex feels.
It depends how many government agents I anger.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jordan, do you do anything? Do you do anything these days?
So I was very busy the last 2 weeks. Didn't have time to do shit. But I finally had some time to play games. Believe it or not, I've been having a hard time fucking finding the time to play games, which is crazy to think about. But Alan Wake Remastered came out.
I heard about that.
And
Is that any? I never played the original. I never really even heard about like anything about the original. Honestly, I knew it existed. I just never played it or anything.
yeah, so I always knew of the name. Like, if you had said it to me, I was like, yeah, that game. Okay, cool. I knew nothing about it. Had never really played it. And a lot of people get mad, right? So the biggest thing that's going on is a lot of companies are remastering old games. You got the Dead Space remake. You got Mass Effect being remade, the 3 of them or whatever. You got Alan Wake being remastered. Rockstar just announced GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas is coming out or whatever. Like,
That's pretty cool.
they're remastering a bunch of games, and a lot of people are like, "Oh,
Please
they
give
don't
us
make
Red Dead Redemption Remastered." Anyway,
that'd be
continue.
sick." But people are like, "Oh, all they do is remaster games nowadays," and I do agree with that
That's
sentiment.
factual. A lot of shit gets remastered. I
Yeah.
think it's another effect of the pandemic, honestly, is because
It's a lot easier and quicker.
they couldn't fucking make games, so they had to like run through. It's like, all right, we can only have like 60 people in the studio, whereas normally we have like 400. Put them on this remaster project, have them remake some textures, and it'll be fine.
Yeah. The thing is, a lot of people get uppity about that, and I understand why. Like, I get it. I want new shit too. But as someone who is, as you mentioned in our previous IRL video, is 20 years old, games like Alan Wake, Dead Space, those were like early on in my life. So even if I did play those, which I didn't when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I never got to experience them truly because I wasn't an adult. I wasn't mature enough
That's
to
true,
actually
yeah.
understand those games. So to me, the remake of Dead Space, bring it on. Get me Dead Space 2 and 3 nets. Remake them. Let's go. Alan Wake, hell yeah. Let's take it. Because,
Did the remaster of Dead Space come out already?
no.
Okay, I was gonna say because like I kind of want to. I am gonna play it. I think.
They showed finally gameplay of it. Ooh, that baby looks crisp, dude. I hope that's one game that I hope by the time it comes out, I can get like a 30 or 40 series card, whatever it is. Because that game looks minty, dude. All space fucking reflections. Oh, it looks so good. It looks so good anyway. But, yeah. So, old games getting remastered doesn't bother me too much because I never got to experience a lot of them. So, Alan Wake is made by Remedy. Remedy has made Control, Quantum Break,
yeah.
some of my favorite games. And I was always like, oh shit, they made this? Like, they made the fucking first Matt's Pain. Like,
Damn, I never finished Control.
Control's pretty good. I never finished it either, though. I made it very close to the end twice. And then I just was not playing.
2 copies of Control, I believe.
Really? And it's on Game Pass, so
I
it count
bought
as 3.
I bought it on Steam when it was on sale, and then like a few months later, it went. I think it was free on Epic Games.
Yep.
Or either that, or I got it from a Humble Bundle. I don't remember.
I think it was the Epic one, because it was free on Epic a few months back.
Or maybe all 3. Maybe I have 3 copies of the game.
You might. But Alan Wake is like one of their earlier games, and playing it, so I tried to play it on Game Pass, because it is on Game Pass, like the original version. I tried to play it maybe six months ago.
Is a remaster on Game Pass?
I don't think so, no.
Damn.
It's a cheap remaster as well. It's $40, not a full price game.
I thought it was
so.
30. I saw it on Epic
No,
Games.
I'm sorry, it's 30. You're right.
It's
It's 30 bucks. And I tried to play it on Game Pass a couple months back, and I was just like,
This plays like an old game.
it's like something about it just didn't feel right. I don't quite remember what it was, but it was just something about the controls or the camera or just something did not jive.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The old games have this way about them that just makes them very difficult to play.
Yeah. And now, I'm trying to turn a little, because every time we do this, now that we're on the podcasting couch, I'm like this, and I just break my neck by the end of it. But now with this remaster, the game looks a little bit better. It still doesn't look, it looks like a game that maybe came out in 2015, I'd say. Like Witcher-esque bootleggedness in a way.
All right, Witcher looked really good.
Yeah, like the thing about the game is the environments, pristine. The animations, they're alright. Kind of like The Witcher. The animations are really cringy in some of the like cutscene.
Some of them are pretty bad, yeah.
The facial animation, fairly decent. The Witcher, I would say, is definitely better, but it's not, or specifically The Witcher 3. To me, that's The Witcher. Every time I talk about it,
yeah.
So it's not like amazing. It's not holy shit they remade this game from the ground up, but it plays so much better, and the game is so fucking good. This game is so good, dude. I had never known what the game was about, and like, it does a couple things that I like in the story. Specifically, it has a really confusing story, but instead of it just being like, holy shit, this game had a confusing story, that was a waste of time. when everything finally comes to a head, it basically just outright states it.
Oh, okay.
So, like, basically, the character, everything's so confusing. You're like, what is going on?
You finished it?
Just about. I left off in the last chapter just before I came here.
How long is it?
Probably about 6 hours, I'd say. 6 to 7.
Shit, 'cause I'm looking...
It's pretty short if you blow through it. I'm doing a ton of exploring, too.
I'm looking because... I'll talk about this later, but I'm continuing my Red Dead 2 100%, and I want something to break it up.
Because you'll just burn yourself out, yeah.
Because I'm, like, trying to work things out, and I spent a considerable amount of time trying to get a fucking cardinal carcass for one of the hunting requests. You have to get a perfect cardinal carcass.
Mm-hmm.
And I managed to get maybe 2 or 3 cardinals, and they were only good carcasses, not perfect ones. So I'm like, I need to play something else right now.
Yeah, before you
and
lose your mind.
And I was thinking either something like that or I was thinking Far Cry 6.
I will be getting Far Cry 6. That game seems really cool.
I am going to pick up Far Cry 6, I think, but I'm not sure just yet. I might, depending on how I feel afterwards, I might pick up the Alan Wake.
Yeah. So basically the story, I'm not going to go into like spoiler details, but it's like everything's really confusing. It's like weird mythical like demons, things like that, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what? And then all of a sudden everything comes to a head and you're kind of like, I guess I kind of understand what's happening. But then the main character, Alan Wake, a lot of it's like a memoir. Like he narrates a lot of stuff that goes on. And he finally realizes what's going on. He puts
it all together.
And he goes, I realize it now. And he lays everything out and you go, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
And it's not like, oh, they just told me the answer. It's more like, oh, okay, all right, I'm not wrong. Oh shit, okay, this is fucking sick. Like when he finally puts the pieces together, you realize that the story is way more complicated than you thought. Like just, it's fucking great. It's really good. The story is just really cool. And it's, I will say there's a couple things that are dated. Like for example, most games, you go from like area to area and you have the same weapons. You can like switch loadouts, things like this. This game has like a certain variety of weapons. It's your primary thing is a flashlight because basically there's a dark presence. It corrupts everyone, and the flashlight is the only way you can kill them. You have to break the dark presence and then shoot them or whatever. It's like a shield essentially. So you have a flashlight pretty much always. Okay. And there's a couple variations to it. There's a flashlight, a heavy-duty flashlight, a lantern, a heavy-duty lantern, and that's it, right? You have batteries, kind of like Outlast, to swap in and out. You have a revolver, you have a shotgun, double barrel, a pump action shotgun, a hunting rifle, a flare gun, which is like a RPG essentially, because remember they died of light, so it's basically like an explosive. You have flashbangs, you have fucking flares, like road flares, things like that. But instead of keeping them, so instead of going from like this section of the game, cutscene, and you keep all your weapons, usually it finds a way to reset you. And it's a little weird. It just feels old. It's like something an old game would do. Like, okay, you finished this section of the game where you had to get a car. There's a cutscene driving the car crashes. Now you have to take off on foot. Well, you reset to just having a flashlight. And he's always like, somehow in the crash, I lost my revolver. It's like, oh, son of a bitch. But the game does it for good reason. It's usually, holy shit, we crashed the car. I'm stuck in the woods. I don't have a flashlight. And you're running from these monsters. And it's pretty fucking cool. But besides that, like the actual shooting, it took me a second. I started playing it and I'm like, there's no reticle. How do I aim? This is stupid. And then all of a sudden, my ape brain was like, oh, every time I move the mouse, he moves the flashlight to a specific location. That's the reticle, is the fucking flashlight where it's pointing. And I'm like, oh, that's
super interesting.
I was like, that's actually really cool. So when you move your mouse around, in most games, you have a cursor. It moves around the center of the screen. In this game, he has the flashlight, and you put it up to the left, and he tilts it up to the left, and that's where you're aiming. So if you're shooting at something, cool, you have to point the flashlight.
You have to use the flashlight to break the darkness or whatever, and then you can shoot them.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
And you literally, the reticle is the flashlight, and it's just really cool.
That's a really interesting mechanic. I never played the original, like I said, but it seems pretty interesting.
It's a good game, and it also, it's just like Steam. It does have the 2-hour, 14-day refund policy or whatever, so if you really don't like it, you can. You could try it on Game Pass, the dated version, and then if you're like, I could get behind this if it was improved, there you go. But, I mean, dude, it's a good game. And one of my favorite things about it is because, as I stated, I haven't had a lot of time to play games the last week or two, it's linear. I'm not like you said about Red Dead, I'm not like, I gotta hunt this thing down for 5 hours. I just go. I load up the game, First of all, on my SSD, this thing genuinely loads when I hit continue in about 1.8 seconds. I hit continue, and then it's just, I'm in the game.
Exactly 1.8 seconds.
Yeah.
He
Dude,
times
it's fast. It is fast.
Bro,
because of it being older.
With the way games are now, games aren't the way they were like 5 years ago, 6 years
Like,
ago.
Dead
where
Space,
it was like
linear.
where we had we had linear games, and then some games were open world.
And they were usually really good, like GTA.
And they were like decent open world games, and the open world had a right to exist and everything like that.
Early Assassin's Creed games. Yeah.
Now everything is open world.
Yep.
Like it's
Ghost Recon.
I'm trying to think of like what is a game. I'm trying to think of a game that's come out in the last like few years that hasn't been open world.
A AAA game specifically.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Call of Duty, but does that really count?
And now they have a battle royale anyway. Non-open. Aside from virtual reality, I can't think of any.
Everything's fucking open world now. Everything has to be open world.
I can't really think of anything off the top of my head anyway.
Jesus.
Huh.
Open, no, something that's... I guess, would you consider Resident Evil Village to be open world?
No, that's like Sandbots, like Hitman. I'd say that's more
Which
like
is
Sandbots.
Like kind of
level.
open world adjacent.
It's adjacent, yeah, for sure.
But
I
it's
would
very
say
much like it is very linear in the way it delivers an open world. It's several different open world maps essentially.
Yeah, I would say Resident Evil Village is probably more linear by today's standards. Like back in the early 2000s, that was like
open world. Yeah.
But this is definitely like more linear by today's standards. Like you got games like Valhalla, you got Red Dead, you got Horizon Zero Dawn, you got Horizon Forbidden West, you got
and honestly,
it's insane.
Don't get me wrong, I like open world conceptually.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I like having the extra stuff to do and interact within the world.
Mm-hmm. Like some games do it well, like The Witcher.
Some games like don't need to be open world.
Yeah.
There are some games that are open world that have that like don't like I would say most or a lot of like Ubisoft games that put in an open world don't need to be open world.
Like Ghost Recon, it should have just been a linear shooter like it always was.
Because open world, as freeing as it is, it makes certain aspects a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Even Red Dead, like going from one area to another, and that the open world is like essential to Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm not saying that it's not a feature that should exist in Red Dead, but in Red Dead, it has this big open map, and it can take like 10 or 15 minutes to get to a destination.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Very.
So, I guess it's mitigated by like fast travel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But even still,
yeah. No, that's true.
You don't want to walk all the way across the world. It's kind of obnoxious.
Yeah. Yep. No, I have to say it's refreshing to just I boot up the game and I'm not like, all right, what do I have to do next? What quest do I want to do? I boot up the game and I'm like, all right.
And it feeds it all to you.
Go that direction. Some bad guys are probably going to appear, kill them. See a cutscene, do this, get this key, do that. Like, it's just all linear. Just go. And yeah, I walk around, bigger sections. I'm like, oh, look, here's a collectible. Here's this, here's that. But it's all linear. I can't deviate 10 miles that way during my mission. Like, it's...
Exactly.
It's just all... It's like, here's the next step.
Well, because they put things that's like, oh, this is interesting enough. And they jingle the keys at you.
Yep.
Like, this is interesting enough. I'm going to go check this out. And then that leads to this, and then that, and then that, and then that, and then you're 35 miles away from your objective, and you're like, oh, Christ. And you go all the way back.
Oh, and something else about Alan Wake 2 you wouldn't even expect. You can drive in that game. There's sections that are like, get in this car, and like, take the highway to the city. That's just like part of the game. And you're like you're using the headlight of the car to like get the darkness away and hit everyone, and yeah. It's interesting. And that game has no right having some of the physics it has on the driving. Like, really? No right. Like, the actual movement of the car is a little like, okay, this is just on there. But, like, dude, it was raining. I was driving. It was perfectly fine. I was, like, taking a turn. The next chapter, I was going the same route in the same vehicle, and it was raining, and I took that same turn. Yeah. And I just slid. I just spun out on the turn. And I'm like, what? Oh god, don't you dare hit close window.
I'll relax. I'm just checking.
Just checking. But yeah, I was like, dude, this is actually pretty cool. And it doesn't like shoehorn it in a way, like it kind of does, but it's like you'll be driving and then there's a little area you can go to. It's like, oh, there's a collectible here, audio log, whatever. Then you take off and go. It's fucking awesome. Such a good game. It goes to show how like we're spoiled in a way. We're like, we want linear games, and devs are making these open worlds. But the problem is, like you said, a lot of games just shoehorn it. Open world isn't what it used to be.
That's the thing. It's like I don't necessarily need an open world game to, for it to be good.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to have a massive open world, 65 square mile map. It's not necessary for a lot of things. And just maps keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger to where, like, you can't fill a map that big in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Red Dead, like, Rockstar in general is usually pretty good at filling out their maps with stuff to do and encounters you can run into.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, playing, like, Valhalla is, like, there's, like, not a ton of shit to do.
Once you do all the stranger, like,
is.
mission things, the mysteries or whatever, yeah, it's pretty much a barren open world.
There's not a ton of shit to do. There's not, like, random encounters or anything like that. But,
I also have to say, too, the size of an open world should vary depending with the game's style. So, for example, GTA, a bigger open world makes sense because you're taking jets. You're taking helicopters. You're driving. Now, a game like Valhalla where you're strictly horseback or on foot doesn't need to be as big as it is.
GTA 5, like, that map that's a big map, but you could easily fly end to end.
In, like, 3 minutes.
It'll take you like, maybe 10 minutes, but you could fly from like one end at the airport.
Well, it depends. Now they have those fucking booster
jets.
jets.
The other end.
Now they have fucking booster jets in that damn game.
That's true. GTA is a different animal now.
Yeah.
GTA Online is like, might as well be its own separate game.
Dude, what if they announce GTA 6 and they're like, GTA 6, just like Battlefield, there's no campaign, it's multiplayer only. Could you imagine that?
I'll cry. I would be upset. I want another GTA game. GTA is like pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It's definitely like because the two mainline series, I really hope they keep the Red Dead series going. Do something
at least
else
for a couple
within
more
that
games,
world.
yeah.
I would like to see. I was thinking about this, conceptualizing in my head what they could do going back or going forward, because in the last two games, Red Dead 1 and 2. They tease the Blackwater Massacre. There's a lot of references to it. And it happens right after, Red Dead 2 happens right after the Blackwater job. So I was thinking, and we know from documentation within Red Dead 2 that Hosea wasn't on that job. He was with Arthur. And it would be interesting to see a GTA 5 style sort of game where you play as Dutch and Hosea. And you move
switch
throughout the world, yeah.
That would be cool.
I think that'd be interesting. I just don't know how they would do it. And it all culminates with what happened in Blackwater.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they did like a DLC for Red Dead 2, I think that'd be interesting as well.
A lot of people were saying, like on the Red Dead 2 Reddit subreddit, about basically making a Red Dead 3 with the early days of the gang and then end it at the Blackwater Massacre.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And
where you control it, like either like Dutch and Hosea, like in between.
I think it'd be cool to play as Dutch, especially with. So there's this whole thing in Red Dead where it's like, was Dutch crazy from the beginning? Was it after the trolley crash? Was it like what was the catalyst for his behavior? And I think it would almost be cool in a way to play as Dutch, specifically because with Red Dead 2 you have the honor system, and it's pretty in your face that the game wants you to be good Arthur.
Yeah.
But if they made this game a little less on the nose, right, and you got to play Dutch, you would essentially. You could either be a skeevy, bad guy in the background and, on the outside look good, or you could be both. You could be good on the outside and good with your actions. So, like, Dutch very much is like, was he crazy from the beginning? Or was he always, like just a good guy until that crash? So if you play as always a good guy, that's your meta, essentially. You're, okay, Dutch was always good up until this point. Or you could play as a version of Dutch where maybe he fought people over, but no one's aware of it. he's always plotting against other people, but he does it very like in the background.
Very methodically.
Yeah, like he's just like
That's
an evil
interesting.
mastermind in a way. I think it'd be pretty cool to have something like that, some sort of background, because we have a really good cast of characters in that game.
Yeah, honestly, even like obviously no one's like thinks Dutch is like a good guy, but like
He's a good character though.
he's an excellent character. It would be interesting to see something within that universe, but what I was saying initially, I believe, I don't remember totally, but both of those mainline series, GTA and Red Dead. Red Dead is more serious. GTA is a little more loose and like funny.
It's very satire.
It's like yeah, exactly. It has like it's still a serious game, like a serious crime game, but it's not like it kind of like is very on the nose with its jokes and things. And it's like supposed to satirize like modern life, what's happening, right now.
Dude, GTA 6 making fun of what's happening now would be fucking crazy.
But GTA 6 I think would be an interesting one because especially when they're coming off the trail of Red Dead 2 to see where they go with the series. Is it going to be not necessarily, I understand it's going to be a less serious narrative, but will it be like that same style where it's 3 characters or multiple characters?
Or one character
or
again.
Or will it be one character? Will it have that same thing that Red Dead 2 has where it has like contextual things? Where it's like...
antagonize and shit.
Yeah, you can like... Because that game's very contextual. You have to do certain things in a certain way or the game will do something completely different.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll be something like that. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, because in GTA 5, you would hit like left on the D-pad and you'd talk shit. But now, coming out, like you said, coming off the heels of Red Dead 2, where you can talk shit, you can be good, you can make decisions, like
yeah.
GTA with that would be really interesting. I also can't wait to see what that game looks like, dude. Rockstar games are always remarkable looking. Like, always, dude.
But, what did Rockstar say that one time? Like, we shouldn't look for anything until like 2025 or some shit.
Something like that. Yeah.
So
it's gonna be probably a while.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Yep, that's for sure. Chris, did you see you good on Red Dead and all that? You good? Alan Wake? I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10.
I could talk about my 100% run.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of on the topic.
Yeah, let's go. 100%. How's that going? I heard you had to fucking kill a cardinal.
Yeah.
Shoot his ass, boy.
Yeah, it's just I'm doing a lot of the annoying shit now.
Yeah, that way all the fun stuff can come at the end, or funner stuff.
No, I did the fun stuff already. I'm doing all the annoying shit now.
And that's it? Oh, no.
So, I'm trying to round everything out. Because there's certain stuff I'm like, I don't really care who I do this as, Arthur Morgan, John Marston. So I'm rounding out stuff I'm doing as Arthur, which I think would make a logical endpoint for Arthur, and then I can just pick everything else up as John, which is just like challenges and collectibles and things. So like I have to find all the dream catchers. There's dream catchers throughout the world. There's like 20 you have to find, which I don't really care. Arthur didn't have to do that. John can do that.
Certain things make sense for Arthur to do. I gotcha.
The challenges, John can take care of that too. It doesn't need to be Arthur. Plus, a lot of the challenges fuck up your honor, and I don't want to do that.
Yep.
And it affects the honor level, affects Arthur's ending, but not John's.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I will say, in part 4, you meet a side character called Algernon Wasp in Saint Denis. I don't know if you might have picked up the quest, but never actually did it.
Mm-hmm.
He asks you walk into his shop, and he's like a fancy clothes maker, and he asks you to find orchids and feather plumes from birds from different egrets. So I was like, oh, I have to find all the exotics. That's not that big of a deal. 30 items. I can do that. So I got the 30 items. I went back to Algernon Wasp. I turned them in. He gave me $100. Like, cool. He goes, there's one more thing, though. I'm like, oh, Christ. And he gives me another list of like 40 items. So I looked up the quest. he has you get, and I did the math, he has you get like 160 things total.
God damn.
So, and they're all super annoying to get because you walk out into the swamp, and for reference, a lot of the items you have to get are like plumes from different swamp birds.
Different swampy birds.
So, the first one was you had to get 15 egret plumes, 5 snowy egret plumes, 5 reddish egret plumes, and 5 little egret plumes. Now you have to get, for the second one, you have to get 20 heron plumes. And what happens is, what I learned in the course of this quest is, if you kill a certain number of animals in a certain period of time, your honor goes down. So my honor went down like considerably because I've been doing this. Because I would just find a group of birds, scare up the birds, and shoot like 20 birds.
Yeah.
And find out that like maybe 10 of them are the ones I needed. So like my honor was like max, and now it's at like 3/4. So I want to finish that up, and I'm going to deal with the rest of that as John. But it is like a really annoying fetch quest.
Yep. Fucking hate those fetch quests.
And I did some of the Herbalist challenge, and I can tell that's going to be a pain in the fucking ass. Herbalist 9, you have to pick one of every plant.
Jesus Christ.
So that's going to be annoying, but I don't think it's going to be nearly annoying as Algernon Wasp.
Yeah, that makes sense. That also is very regional.
But I have Algernon Wasp, the Dreamcatchers, the Graves, and then I have to finish up the legendary animals, legendary fish, and legendary dinosaur bones.
Yeah.
Because that stuff was I did the stuff I could do as Arthur, and then the rest is like in Blackwater around that area, New Austin and whatever. And then I have to meet the 2 gangs that you meet in the epilogues.
Yep.
And then I'm done.
Not bad. Probably another like 20 hours?
I have to do the challenges.
Yeah. Oh, challenges. Probably another 30 hours.
So the challenges are going to be a fucking pain in the ass, I can tell. I'm already working. I'm at like anywhere from level 3 to 5 on like all the challenges. Mm-hmm. And there's some that I've gone further. Like I'm at like Herbalist 8 or something now.
Yep.
And I finished the Explorer challenge because it's just you had to find treasure, which is not that big of a deal.
Yep.
So I
got a ways to go, but you're getting
there. Got a ways to go, but I need something to break it up with.
I would definitely recommend Alan Wake or even replaying Control because you said you didn't finish that. That's a fun game.
I kind of want to pick up. I do really want to pick up Far Cry 6, or I'm going to. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. Yeah, Alan Wake is really good. Far Cry 6 would be a good one. Far Cry 6 is another one that can get repetitive, though. It's only concern. But it's another open world game. A lot of stuff to do, but I've heard pretty good things about it, though. It seems like a fun one. It's definitely one I want to try, so.
I might just sit down and play something like that.
Yeah.
Or, because I have a couple of horror games in my library that I want to play.
Like what?
I have that game we talked about, Summer 58. Yeah. There's one that Alex told me about.
We should play that on the podcast.
I forget what it was called. But,
is it VR?
No, it's just regular, but it looks really interesting. I forget what it was called. But it looks really interesting, and I do want to play it considering it's spooky season, so.
Yeah, why haven't we thought about doing a spooky video? We should play a game, like a certain horror game.
I was cooking up ideas in the back of my mind, so we'll figure something out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I wanted to play, what the fuck was it? It was a certain horror game. Can't remember what the fuck it was, but I wanted to play a horror game a couple of days ago. I just didn't. I ended up playing Alan Wake. Alan Wake is actually technically a horror game.
Because I think I'll do that, but like you said, it's not that long, so it's probably only going to keep me occupied for like
2 days, depending on how much time you have.
Well, I'll probably start at the beginning of the week, so like I'll probably maybe a week.
Yeah.
Not even. So, 4 or 5 days, maybe the week.
Did you ever
tops.
play the Mass Effect trilogy?
No, I had the same issue you did, where I was like, I booted it up, and I'm like, man, this fucking still plays like an old game.
Yeah.
And I just never picked it up. I was never like, damn, this I gotta work on this one. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's alright.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not something I think is particularly interesting that I would want to. I understand that it's interesting. I understand that it's good, but I just like, I can't see myself picking it up, especially from Mass Effect 1. Even the remaster is like, ugh.
Yeah.
This plays like it's fucking ancient.
I know, like, a lot of people who played the original were like, the remaster plays so modern, and now I'm like, all right, I don't even want to know what the original.
Yeah. I don't even want to know what the original is like because of just how fucking old the remaster feels.
The cover system, the shooting, I'm like, like a lot of that game, my like hour and a half with it was like, oh, a little bit of shooting, a lot of talking, and I'm not into this. So
yeah, it doesn't really do much to hook you in.
Yeah, I guess you just have to be an RPG fan. Like back in 2010 or whatever when that game came out, that must have just been it. It was a big RPG, and people were like, fuck yeah.
Well, that's
so
the
once
thing,
you
though,
stick
is I
around,
kind of am an RPG fan. It's just like
modern RPG fan.
They need to do something to draw you in.
Yeah.
Like, let me think. What's a game that has a really, really good opening? Skyrim has a decent opening.
Yeah, I mean, you do start off with a dragon.
It brings you right in. You're like, oh, you're on your way to get beheaded.
And then there's just a
and
fucking
then there's
dragon.
a dragon, and it really does a lot to drag you in.
Fallout 4 and shit like that.
Fallout 4 is interesting. Has an interesting
Fallout
one.
3. I mean, they all.
And I'm not a Fallout fan, so I love Fallout 4. I liked Fallout 4 a lot. I thought
I
it was
liked
pretty
it a lot.
damn good.
Fallout fans didn't, like you said, but I liked it a lot.
Fallout fans didn't like it, but that's like the first Fallout game I've actually sat down and really played. I thought it was really interesting and really fun. I had a lot of good times with it.
Dude, what the fuck? Give me this goddamn keyboard.
Yeah, you're making the same mistake I tried to do.
Just seeing what we're at. Yeah, Fallout is definitely
so that definitely
game.
Does a lot to bring you in. It's like, oh, I'm just chilling. Okay, there's a nuke happening right now.
Yeah.
Oh, my wife just got shot, or husband, depending on how you customize your character.
Yeah.
My son just got taken.
Yep.
What's going on here? And you got to figure it out, and then you're dragged in. You're like, oh, and then like the first or second quest is like, oh, I'm fighting a death claw with a minigun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, dude. Maybe it's just as I'm getting older and having more responsibilities, like...
I need to filter out the bullshit from, like, what's actually going to keep me interested.
Yeah. Like, the time I do have, I don't want to just be listening to dialogue. I need something... dialogue's fine, but I need
needs to
something.
String me along.
So, like, Days Gone. Like, Days Gone, fucking awesome opening. Like, awesome opening. You're just so interested from the start. And it keeps you the whole time. Red Dead 2, same thing. You know, Red Dead 1, same thing. Like, you just have a reason to be there. Like, Red Dead 1 is a little slow. That I do remember.
Red Dead 1 is a slow burn.
Red Dead 2 is a lot faster
but it
in
does drag you in, though. You're like, oh, shit, who's this? John Marston. Okay, who's this? Bill Williamson. Oh, shit, I just got shot.
Yeah, pretty much.
and then it gets boring. And then you fuck around with cows for the first 6 hours of the game.
Basically, yeah.
But Red Dead 2 really does. It's a very good balance. Where
it's a slow start, quote unquote.
It definitely could have been a game where it was like, oh, there's just too much fucking dialogue happening all the time. Because that game is essentially just dialogue, but there's enough interesting shit to break it up.
Shootouts and shit. And even the shootouts are full of dialogue.
Yeah, but still, it's like, I mean, oh, we need a place to stay. Oh, there's a rival gang here, and you shoot the place up. And then you find Sadie Adler, and then you're immediately like fucking thrown into a train robbery.
Yeah,
right. It's like the third mission you do.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. You do rob a train very early.
So it drags you in, and I need a game that like has something really interesting going on, drag you in.
Yeah, yeah.
Even indie games have this, like The Forest.
Yeah.
When you start and you're on a plane crash.
Yeah, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck?
And then your son gets taken.
Yeah, that's the thing about Alan Wake 2 is like, the gameplay and all that is really good. The dialogue is like cringy in a good way in some cases. Like, the dialogue's a little weird the way it's delivered and things, but it's like a very good balance of it. It's not like, oh my god, what the fuck am I listening to? It's very funny in a way. You're just like, this is kind of comical. The way he's like, Alice! You remember, like, the Heavy Rain meme? Sean. You remember that thing?
What was the first kid? The one who gets his white card? Jason or whatever?
From which one?
From Heavy Rain.
Is it Jason? I thought it was Sean.
He has two kids. One gets hit by a car. At
Oh,
the
yeah,
very
maybe.
beginning of the game. I
Yeah,
think his name was Jason.
I think it's Jason. He's like, Jason.
Because he's like, Jason.
Jason. It's like that. It's funny. And I do have to say the cutscenes, they're like they're not like CG. They're not like a in-game kind of cutscene. They're a bit CG-ish in a way, and they have like different graphic style and things like that. And the frame rate is super choppy because it seems like it's from like the PS3 360 version
bizarre.
or whatever. But the gameplay is really good, but the actual cutscenes can be a little weird, and the lip sync can be a little weird too. But like, it's almost charming in a way. It's weird, and I'm not usually someone who has a lot of tolerance for that. Like, I'm a snob in a way where like, dude, frame rate drops piss me off. Lip sync issues completely turn me off of a game. Like,
Hello.
I usually have almost no tolerance for that kind of thing. So, and with it being a linear game that's so old already, it's very nice to finally play a game that has like zero bugs, like zero issues, zero performance issues, zero bugs. Like, it's just
That's fair.
it's good. So I definitely recommend it for sure. So
Yeah, I'm gonna shop around, see what I can find, which would be interesting.
yeah,
But yeah, that's definitely a good thing to note, is that like games really need like a good hook when you start playing. So
yeah. No, games need something to be interesting. How does The Witcher 3 open? I can't remember.
that one's not particularly interesting either.
I don't think so because I fell off of it for like 6 months right after the intro.
The first like half hour of that game is like not very exciting because you're just fucking around and Kaer Morhen.
That's right. Yep. But
Witcher 2 I think had a better opening, but like overall wasn't as good of a game.
yeah, The Witcher 3 is really good. Don't let the opening turn you off. It turned me off, and I ended up loving the game.
The Witcher 2 opens and you're like immediately in a fight for your life. They do the combat tutorial in a very interesting way.
Yeah.
Whereas The Witcher 3 is like, ugh, this ain't that interesting.
Yeah. I definitely think games need to stick the landing on the opening a bit.
Oh,
a lot of
definitely.
games have trouble sticking the landing on the intro and on the end, essentially.
Yeah.
But in some ways, the intro's more important in a way because like you can make it the whole way through a game, but this game is awesome and it has a shitty like final, and you're like, wow, that sucked, but you still enjoyed the game at least up until that point. Versus if it has a shitty intro, like you fall off hard.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay. I don't have anything to believe in right now.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely something to note. Now, what I was gonna say, Chris, is I have a truth about the ZFlip 3 life to discuss.
Was it that you weren't ready for the life?
Samsung lied to me. They asked me if I was ready for this lifestyle, right? And this attention, things like that. Mm-hmm. Not a single fucking person has asked me about that phone in the 2 months I've had it.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about that one. They give a shit about the Fold.
Yeah, no, I've whipped it open in public, and maybe it's just where we are compared to like big cities, like much bigger than mine. But like, no one cares. I've opened it in the grocery store in a crowded aisle. No one acknowledges it. No one even notices. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy for that because it would be quite annoying to feel like every time I open my phone, someone's up your ass. But
yeah.
I expected a bit more, because of all the hype around the, are you ready for this lifestyle? But no one cares. Not a single person cares. Now, if I had the Fold, yeah, if I whipped that fucking thing out in a store, everyone's first reaction is going to be, why the fuck do you have a tablet? And then they're going to be like, oh, that makes sense.
Holy shit, it's a Galaxy Fold.
So, that's the truth about the Z Flip 3 life. Don't.
If I had a Galaxy Fold, I'd just be taking phone calls with the Fold open. I'd be like this. Hello? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's close it like a book.
So, yeah, definitely don't worry about that if you're going to think about getting the Z Flip 3. No one cares. And also, I have to give a massive shout out to Valve.
I do as well. I saw this and I was going to add it to the notes. I saw you already did.
Steam Deck teardown video. Pretty self-explanatory. They tear down the Steam Deck.
Yep, and the way they do it is interesting.
The way they do it is very interesting.
Because they start this video off by saying like, "Hey, don't do this, but it's yours, so fuck it though, bro. It's your tablet."
They literally are like, "We're not going to tell you how to use your property, but just know that this is a bad idea.
We don't recommend doing this." And it's just, I sincerely believe it's just like a fucking legal thing because they're like, "Oh, if someone opens this
And
because
dies,
we said they could, and then blows up their battery, however slim the chance being. They blow up their battery, burn their house down, and kill their entire family accidentally, and then we get sued.
Yeah.
So, let's just tell people not to do this.
The biggest thing I took from the video, right? They're tearing down this Steam Deck, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool hardware. The absolute biggest thing, most impressive thing from that was the statement stating Valve will work with third parties to provide replacement parts for your Steam Deck.
Exactly. And they mentioned custom parts too, and they were talking about the thumbsticks. Mm-hmm. And they showed you how easily replaceable the thumbsticks are.
And the fucking SSD.
And the SSD, which is like super interesting. So
now, if you have your Steam Deck 3 years from now, and just say, I don't know what the warranty is going to be on it, but just say that the SSD shits the bed.
Exactly.
You don't have a $500 or $650 paperweight if you have the highest end model. You can probably buy that SSD from a third party or from Steam directly.
And
right to repair, baby.
And if you're a cheap bitch like me, and you reserved the 64 gig base model,
and you want to
upgrade, I
upgrade,
ain't gonna spend $600 on this.
And then you like it more than you think.
Bing, bang, boom, you swap it out, load the software back on, and you're good to go.
That's the thing, too. They didn't show, like, different models of the Steam Deck, so my assumption is that it's pretty much universal. There might be slight differences between them.
They mentioned in the video, this is how it is on every version.
Oh, really?
With the SSD.
Oh, with the SSD. I meant, like, the general hardware, thumbsticks, everything, like, size, shit like that, because I know this, so the highest-end Steam Deck has a different display.
It does.
So I don't know how that factors into things.
I was just thinking about the SSD.
But yeah, the SSD.
It's just the only thing is that I forget the standard they said it was.
M2.
It was no. I mean the length. I forget if they said it was 2230 or 2242, which either way is kind of tough to find drives for.
Yeah.
But I know 2230, 2230 1 terabyte drives do exist. They're just very expensive and kind of slower.
Yep.
Because it's a lot you got to put on one chip.
Oh yeah.
So.
And they also have the micro SD card slot too. So like.
That's true. So you could potentially have like 2 terabytes in your Steam Deck, which is pretty insane considering how powerful it's going to be.
But huge shout out to Valve, like from me personally.
Oh, genuinely, yeah.
With right to repair. When you have companies like Apple, like Samsung.
And it makes sense because look at who founded and works on Valve. Gabe Newell. He's a fucking Linux nerd.
Yeah. Yep.
Linux people are super big into like right to repair, open source,
customization.
Like
yep.
So it makes sense that it's a product from someone like Gabe Newell.
So Gabe and everyone else at Valve.
Good on you,
Good
boys.
fucking job. As much as you do kind of rake over developers on Steam with your little profit thing, margin, whatever, good job.
Yeah, no. I can excuse the fact that you take 45% of every Steam sale, but I'll say this. Good job with this one.
Yeah, very good job. So that's awesome to hear that you're buying something that you're not completely locked out of. Now, again, they don't recommend you taking it apart for legal reasons, but it's very clearly, there's a main message in the video, and the main message is...
Don't do this, but you can.
Don't do this, but just know that most of these parts are replaceable. That's pretty much the message in the video.
Which is awesome because...
So.
And the fact that they're like, yeah, we'll give you replacements. We're working on it. We're getting that in the works.
They're literally like, yeah, we are working with third parties to get replacement parts.
Which
like,
is
okay,
like...
That's fucking sick.
Fucking unheard of.
Imagine, Chris.
And just the fact that it's not sealed, you can take 8 screws off the back and it comes pull off the back, is monumental for 2021.
Just imagine, right? You have the iPhone 13 that just came out with the new Galaxy lineup. If they were just like, hey, here's the S22, here's the iPhone whatever, take out these 8 screws, take off this back panel, and hey, your camera shit the bed, replace the camera. Oh, your phone screen cracked? Just pop the ribbon connector off, take the screen off, put a new screen in, seal it, you're good to go. No, instead they make it as impossible as fucking possible.
Yeah.
So.
They're like, well, we're going to put on this glue that's near impossible to get off without destroying the phone.
Also, every component inside has the same serial number as the motherboard, so you cannot use parts with different serial numbers. Hashtag Apple for the win.
They're like, hey, we can just make more money on phones if we make it so you have to throw away your phone every time something breaks.
Yeah.
We can make more money on cars if you have to get a new car every time you need an oil change.
There you go.
It comes with a sealed oil pan. You can't do an oil change. Not possible.
Yeah. I was actually talking to a guy on the phone at work about, so we're talking about bearings being sealed and not having Zerk fittings to put grease.
Yeah.
We were talking about that, and we were talking about how that's kind of dumb. And I mentioned sealed transmissions, and he was talking about how he just bought like a new Corvette, I think it was, or a Camaro, one of the two, from a guy. And it's an old one, but it has a sealed transmission. And he was so confused. It's a manual. And he was so confused as to like what was going on. And he was just like, I don't know what's going on. He's like, I'll take it to my buddy or whatever. And we were talking about just how like locking people out of number one, repairs, and number two, maintenance is just stupid because it's meant to last. You know what helps it last, right? Maintenance.
Yeah, well, it's meant to last the life of the transmission. They just don't tell you the life of the transmission is like 60,000 miles.
Yeah.
The actual life will be significantly more than that, and it'll be even significantly more if you maintenance the transmission regularly. You can tell when anything is designed to do work. Like the Steam Deck, it's meant to do work. The work is games, but it's meant to do work, and you should be able to just swap out components if it's not doing said work. When you look at diesel trucks, I don't know about other ones, but I know the Chevys, the Duramaxes, they have the Allison transmission, which is used with a lot of military vehicles as well. Allison just makes transmissions. You can go in and service all the fluids. It has an external transmission fluid filter. You can service everything because it's meant to work.
Yeah, you have to maintenance this puppy to keep it going.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you're going to have to do this eventually, so we're going to make it easy for you.
Yep.
Like drives, they die all the time. Thumbsticks get drift. It's not just a Joy-Con thing. It just happens to all of them eventually.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I didn't think about in the Steam Deck is that it uses joysticks only.
They get drift, or when you use them, they get worn.
Yeah.
So you swap them back out.
Buy a $20 set instead of a $650 Steam Deck.
My drive died. Boop, boop.
Yeah. Yep. Luckily, Easy. It's internal storage is solid state, so it's not like they're slapping a fucking hard disk in this baby. So you should have a lot more reliability out of it.
Hard drive in it.
You drop it and it just... and
it's like the original iPod. It's really? Like there's even up until they discontinued the iPod Classic in like 2014, it had a little hard drive in it.
Oh, I don't know that. That's funny.
And the iPod Mini had not the Nano, the Mini, which is like 2004 or something like that. The iPod Mini had a little tiny hard drive in it. Little tiny hard drive. There's like 4 gigs.
Yeah.
And those things died all the time.
Yeah.
If you dropped them, it would move, and then it would get all fucked up. So, and they ran super hot too.
Yeah, makes sense. But so that's awesome to hear about the Steam Deck. I'm glad to know that the thing I'm spending almost $700 on, after tax about $700 on, is actually probably going to hold up for a little while. And if something is to fail, actually be replaceable. So, good to know. Good on them. And, actually, you know what people have started doing? So, I meant to tell you this if you didn't know already, but you mentioned this in an episode one time when we first started talking about the Steam Deck, and then it actually got confirmed like shortly after. The Steam Deck uses Proton to run most of the games, obviously, because it's Linux. But people have actually started emailing devs of like specific games and being like, "Hey, does your shit work on Proton?" And like asking them if it works on the Steam Deck, and devs have actually been responding. So interesting. I'm gonna email Rockstar and be like, "Does Red Dead 2 run on the Steam Deck? Let me know. I know it works on Proton, but does it run on the Steam Deck? I need to know."
Also release GTA 6.
Please. And then just a picture of my cock.
Well, what's interesting is the fact that this is just going to be a big development rush for Proton in general.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, if they're making these games to run on the Steam Deck on Proton,
put
PC.
it this way, they won't be made to run on the Steam Deck. That's
Proton.
That's not gonna be the situation. But the Steam Deck's getting a lot of hype. If it turns out as good as it's slated to be, or 90% is close, people are gonna have Steam Decks, and people are gonna be pissed when they can't play their games on their Steam Deck.
Especially people who don't understand.
Exactly. So what are devs pressured to do? Develop the games either native for Linux or to work with Proton. Meaning they funnel money towards Linux ports or they funnel money towards Proton.
Maybe that's Gabe's plan all along.
That's Gabe's plan.
He's taking down Microsoft. He wants Windows out of the picture.
Dude, maybe that's it. Gabe is he read The Art of the Deal, bro. The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. He's a businessman doing business. He is a smart motherfucker if that's actually his plan.
Yeah. That could be. I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense.
He was just like, damn, I really like Linux. I'm upset that it's not more mainstream. Okay, now it is.
Yep, there you go. Especially with how open Valve is being, that almost made sense.
Which would be so much better, honestly, because Windows, I like Windows because things just fucking work. I don't have to dick around in a terminal for 30 minutes if I want to play a game. All right? That's why I stopped using Linux, because sometimes if I wanted to play certain games, I was like, ugh. I had to install a package and configure it to make it work, and then I could play the game. Or I had to fucking run it through a bunch of translation layers, and then I could play the game. Proton's made it a lot better, but there were certain games I still had to fuck around to make work, and then even then I couldn't get them to fucking work.
Yeah.
Some games. If this is the case, I will fully go back to Linux just because Linux, it does things so much better than Windows does. I can just run a command and update everything. I don't have to deal with all these pop-ups and notifications and bullshit that Windows gives you.
Yep.
I can customize my system how I want, not how Microsoft wants me to customize my system.
Yeah.
I don't have to open my start menu and see advertisements
on your $150 operating system.
And at the end of the day, my operating system is free.
Yep. And open source, baby. Meaning you can download anyone's version.
Yeah.
Upload your version.
So if I was like, man, I want to make this change to my kernel. Done.
Yep.
It's pretty fucking interesting. I'd like to see that a lot. I've been using Linux a little more just for classwork and stuff, and I've forgotten man, this shit is so goddamn easy, so much easier to work with. Mm-hmm. Once you get a working knowledge of how because it's a learning curve for sure, but once you get a working knowledge of how to do things in the terminal, and then you branch out from there, and then you can read support documentation if you need to, you're oh, this is way more streamlined.
Yeah.
So you can just pull up a terminal and go, okay, my system's up to date. I have a new desktop environment. And I installed this cool theme that makes all my desktop notifications or all my desktop sounds sound like bruh sound effect 2.
Yeah.
So
beauty of Linux right there.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do have to say it would be.
And this is a good push for gaming stuff, but the final push would have to be software, like the Adobe suite. We'll never see mass adoption if the Adobe suite doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's oh, well,
I can play games and that's it.
I can play games, but I can't make videos of the games. I can do that with OBS, but I can't edit them because my Premiere Pro doesn't work.
Yeah.
And DaVinci Resolve does work, but it's there's a certain way about it you have to mess with.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that for some reason you have to do a different way on Linux. It's weird. It's something to do with like the file system or something like that. I don't remember the specifics of it, but if we can push for games, I think there'll be more push for software. Because now I feel like there's a lot more people who like, you know, play games, have a gaming computer and an editing rig, like in one, and edit YouTube videos and whatever on Premiere Pro. There's way more of those people than there are executives at like movie studios that are like, okay, we can use Premiere Pro with anything.
Yeah.
We don't care. We're going to adapt our systems to work with Premiere Pro because we need it to finish this thing we're making.
Yep.
But I feel like that's maybe like 20% of the revenue for like Premiere Pro and the Adobe Suite, and then the other like 80% is like everyone else.
Yeah.
So
that made sense. Yeah, that would be cool to see. Yeah. I think Linux in general, like I think there's a place for both. Obviously, Windows and Linux. Linux is a lot more complicated at first. Like you said, a huge learning curve.
It is. Like,
so,
yeah.
There's that. You know, it would kind of suck to go to a store to buy a laptop for school and then have to load your own fucking Linux on it if you don't want to do that, you know? So I think it'd be nice to see them level a little more because Windows is just...
I guess that's another thing on the waves.
Fucking huge.
Everyone has their own preference for distros because there's so fucking many.
Yep.
And there's a lot of things to consider when picking one. Do you want it to be static? Do you want it to be rolling? Do you want it to be bleeding edge rolling or like sort of rolling where they vet the packages first before giving you the updates? How much configuration do you want to do? How much Linux shit do you want to do before you can just use this? What happens when a package breaks? I don't know. So,
yeah.
It is shit like that. So there would definitely have to be like a standardized distro. And I guess it's kind of like...
That would become Linux, like Linux, essentially.
It's kind of pushing towards like the machines you can get Linux loaded onto, like from the factory. It's leaning towards like Ubuntu. Or I know there is the company who actually develops the OS called Pop OS, which is similar to Ubuntu. It's Ubuntu based. They will load Pop OS onto their own. So maybe it's a situation where every manufacturer makes their own distro because they can. Or they just have one central distro that things are based on.
Yeah. Instead of like Windows, you get, you know, HP's distro, fucking Dell's distro.
But then it would have to be like centralized to a sense because, this will work on things... Because it's usually universal, but then there's certain things that like, this isn't a pre-made package on Arch-based distros. It's only a pre-made package on Debian and Ubuntu-based distros. So it's a much more complicated situation than just Windows.
Yeah.
Make it for Windows, made an exe, run it, and then you can with any Windows system. Yeah. Any modern Windows system. There's limitations if you're still using like fucking XP, but
fucking Vista, dude.
Especially if you're using Vista or 7 or whatever. But like
fucking Windows 7, dude.
Windows 7 was a banger OS.
What's the one everyone hated? Windows 8? Oh shit. What did they hate? Windows 8?
8 and Vista.
People hated those?
Yeah.
What was wrong with 8?
Like original 8 sucked. It was just like really buggy, and I don't think you could... I think you were locked to that weird tablet mode.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I had 8.1.
8.1 wasn't that bad.
I went from 8.1 to 10.
Once you install Classic Shell on 8.1, it's just a snappier Windows 7. And Classic Shell on Windows 10 is just like a snappier Windows 7.
Yeah.
So I would say like every other OS made by Microsoft is decent. Yeah. Like... XP, really good. Vista sucked. 7, probably the best Windows. 8, they redeemed it with 8.1, but its launch was rocking, overhauled a negative reputation. And 10 is pretty decent for Windows, so I don't have high hopes for 11.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But I think 11 is just essentially going to be a 10.1 sort of situation.
It's 10, but mobile. It's light.
Yeah, it's like
it's mobile friendly.
It's 10, but we just called it 11 because we needed a new one.
Yeah. Should have called it, honestly, just Windows 10 mobile or something, because it's made for, like, laptops and 2-in-1s and shit.
Which is good because we need a lighter weight Windows. Like, Windows just at idle will use, like, fucking 2.5 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah, that's true. It's not very well optimized for that kind of shit. It's very heavy, like you said.
Like, a bloated Linux install would be, like, half a gig of RAM at this desktop at idle.
Not almost, fucking 3.
And people, I saw this one guy who optimized his install down to be using like 30 megabytes of RAM at fucking idle.
Holy shit.
But he did a lot of shit. He stripped down the kernel. He stripped down like a lot of stuff.
Damn.
So.
But yeah, that's all I got for tech. For technology.
I think that's
ZFlip, Steam Deck, Windows, Linux.
All we got. I feel like we could pick it up in the next one then.
Yeah, I think so. I got some hardware stuff I want to mention. So
hardware.
You know what else is hard?
What, Jordan?
My dick.
So another announcement for you guys. I think the podcast is coming to an end, like permanently. We're deleting the channel, and I'm going to delete Jordan's brainstem real quick.
On camera. So follow us on OnlyFans. That was a realistic gun sound effect. People might think that was real in the audio form.
It was a TV remote for all you audio listeners.
That was so realistic sounding. But anyway, that's all I got, Chris.
Yeah, I think that's it. Jordan?
Yep.
Do you want to remind people where they can view this? Or listen to this?
Yep.
Or view this? Or listen to this?
Mm-hmm.
Or view it? Or listen to it, maybe?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm going to look at you the whole time, so that way they know I'm not reading a script. Technically, it could be a script behind you, but there isn't. So, if you want to listen to the podcast only form of this, you are staring really weirdly at me. You would want to listen on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Radio Public, and of course Spotify. There's also the RSS feed linked down below that you can import into your favorite podcasting app. And as always, contact us via email, synapsemisfire@pm.me. Comments, questions, concerns, or death threats, as well as the Instagram linked down below. This is really weird. He's just staring into my soul.
All right, anyway, that's it.
Yeah. All right, bye.
I think it's time, Jordan.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. To get out of my house.
Chris, there's still another fucking episode. How many times do I have to tell you?
I'm sorry.
God damn it. This is why we can't have anything nice. Chris is racist, by the way.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to say the N-word now.